Hello, this is Professor Neil Hamilton from the Drake University Agricultural Law Center. We're here today in Havana, Cuba for Our Water, Our Land. We came to Cuba because there's an international agricultural law conference being held. And several of my colleagues from Drake and former students came because the Cubans decided to dedicate the conference to my career. I know some of you at home who always found my Southwest Iowa politics a little radical will find it fitting that the Cubans are honoring me. But you know what they say about prophets in backyards. But seriously, there are many good reasons for us to come to Cuba to study what's happening with agriculture. For a number of years, I've been bringing Drake law students to Cuba to study agricultural law. In particular, we've been examining what Cuba's been doing on agricultural land reform. The main focus of the Cubans has been how to increase food production and try to increase the privatization in their economy. One of the things that they've been doing is using millions of acres of idle state-owned land that was available after the demise of the Soviet Union in the 1990s. The Cubans have implemented laws to make this land available to new and young people who want to become farmers. Several 100,000 Cubans have taken advantage of this program, and the state has put several million acres of farmland back into production in their hands. As you might recognize, this process is somewhat reminiscent of what we did in the 1860s under the Homestead Act. While our political economies may be different, and our past is marked with conflict, there are many good reasons to think about the parallels between our nations. There are strong connections between Cuba and the United States. And when it comes to agriculture, there are a number of parallels, particularly on the issue of helping a new generation of farmers enter into agriculture. As in the United States, many people who grew up in agriculture moved on to an education and to a better career and don't have any intention of returning to agriculture. This means that many of the farmers, particularly in Cuba, those of the post-revolutionary period of the 1960s, are becoming older and retiring, and the nation is in need of new energy and new people to return to the land. Like in the U.S., there are many people who are interested in food and agriculture because of the economic opportunities and the ability to be independent business people. But, just like in our situation, many of them don't have any experience or background in farming. One key difference has been that in the United States, access to affordable land has been a key challenge to put new people into agriculture. Federal and state governments are working on many new initiatives to try to find out how to make land affordable and available to new farmers. But in Cuba, the availability of millions of acres of state-owned land, which had been idle since the Soviet Union fell in the early 90s, meant that Cuba had a resource available to use with this experiment. Whether the Cuban experience with land reform and offering long-term leases will be successful is still to be seen. But there are many lessons and observations that we can draw from what they're trying to do. For our purposes, the students find this an important opportunity to think about how land ownership and access to land is an important part of the future of agriculture. As they realize, the current generation of farmland owners in the United States will play a critical role in determining who has access to land and who's able to farm in the future. Regardless of their backgrounds, the students who have made the trip to Cuba have found it a transformative experience, in part because it gives them an opportunity to look back and think about how we do things at home. Sometimes you have to leave home to appreciate what you have. That's one of the great benefits of foreign travel. If you have a passport but haven't used it lately, I encourage you to get it out and take that trip that you've been planning. If you don't have one, consider applying for one and think about taking that trip you've always dreamed about while you're able. You never know what insights you may gain on our world until you get out and see it. This has been Professor Neil Hamilton from the Drake University Agricultural Law Center, bringing it to you today from Havana for Our Water, Our Land.